Hello and welcome to A Second Look. My name is Emmett McConnell. In this series, I break down the big plays and goals from a previous match in MLS. In this episode, I'm going to look back at the game between Atlanta United and New York City FC. Both teams lined up in a 3-4-3, or at times a 3-4-1-2, though Atlanta were certainly the better of the two teams, coming away with a 2-1 victory and amassing 18 shots with 9 on target. New York City had its moments, though. But with Hebert starting on the bench, they looked more like the New York City from the beginning of the season that struggled to get victories. Once he came on, however, his hold-up play and finishing was instrumental in New York City getting 1 goal back. Atlanta, meanwhile, had perhaps its best performance of the season. Its attacking patterns of play were really impressive in possession, and when New York City decided to play a high block, they were more inclined to go route one over the top and exploit the space behind. Let's take a second look. My biggest issue with the New York City defense this game came from the left wingback Ronald Matarrita and the left center back Alexander Callens. Callens constantly had men playing off his back shoulder and struggled to keep tabs on those runners. In this clip, Callens doesn't focus on Pity Martinez, and Matarrita slides into cover for him. This will be a running theme in this match, as Gressel had time to provide plenty of quality service. As good as Julian Gressel is playing midfield for Atlanta, this is where he had the most success last season under Tata Martino, and where he's at his best, playing the right wing-back position and whipping in early crosses for Josef Martinez. It starts with a really good first-time pass from Gressel to Martinez, who can't direct his shot on target. But let's look how Josef ends up getting open in the first place. He starts by offering himself as a short option. But once Barco cuts back onto his right, Martinez starts sprinting forward. He probably knows a pass from here is impossible, but he is playing for the next pass, or even trying to draw a defender away from the middle. This is the quality of movement Josef Martinez brings, and either result brings a benefit for his team. He is now behind the defense, and it's James Sands who now realizes the threat as the ball slides out for Gressel. Josef Martinez waits until the offside line is caught up to him, then bolts once the ball reaches Gressel. It bounces up just before reaching Josef, which makes it difficult for him to keep his shot down. For New York City, I'd like to see Callens switched on to Pity, and allow Matarrita to slide out and get closer to Gressel. I can't really blame Sands and Chanot for not catching on to Josef's movement, but there were other times in this match where the entire defense was disjointed. This starts with New York playing a high block, which ends up hurting them on multiple occasions, as they aren't really pressing the Atlanta defenders, more so baiting them into making a challenging pass. Castellanos is trying to close down Miles Robinson, but he has time to make a simple 15-yard pass forward into Josef Martinez. These aren't always the best idea from these positions, and we'll see New York City take advantage of one, but Josef is able to lay this one off under pressure from Callens. New York City midfielder Ebenezer Ofori is blocking the initial pass to Nagbe to Robinson's right, but the pass is to Ofori's right, which sucks him and Callens into Martinez as he drops it for the now wide-open Nagbe. It's a fairly simple up-back through, and Nagbe plays Gressel down the line into space. As New York City starts to drop off and the ball is played for Gressel, Josef Martinez begins his sprint. He peels off once he makes the layoff, but now he goes 100% and leaves James Sands in his dust. Alexander Callens takes a look and tries to get into a position to block this early cross, but come on, this is Julian Gressel, and he's the best in the league at this ball. It's a beautiful first-time ball again, and curled right into the path of Josef Martinez. He gets on frame, but Sean Johnson makes a fantastic save to close down the angle. Robinson to Josef, to Nagbe, to Gressel, to Josef. A clinical combination. Now for a more simple combination on the other side of the field. New York City is lined up well here initially, and Atlanta doesn't really have anywhere to go except for back. And the Atlanta from earlier this season would have done just that. Meram plays it inside and immediately takes off. This isn't a perfect give and go, as I think Meram could have drawn Tinnerholm in closer before initiating the pass and run, but he torches the wingback and is able to get past him. Tinnerholm could have reacted slightly quicker, but even worse was Maxime Chanot's decision to close down Remedi. With both Chanot and Tinnerholm stepped up, there's now this gaping space on the left for Atlanta, and Meram's speed allows him to exploit it and get in the box for a cross. Not a single New York City defender did its job on this play, because after Callens and Chanot are beat, the remaining 3 drop into the box, but fail to recognize dangerous crossing zones, and more importantly, the Atlanta forwards. The three defenders essentially line up in a row, and they don't create any depth in their marking. Had a forward been able to get farther up the pitch, the cross could go here, behind the defense, or the cutback here, where Joseph and Gressel are unmarked. It ends up being slightly behind Joseph Martinez, who still gets the shot on frame and forces Johnson into a tough save. The combination was a nice bit of flair to break down the defense, but the 5 New York City defenders did not do nearly enough to prevent this opportunity. The ball goes out on a diagonal for Gressel, and Matarrita does well to close him down, but is not actually pressing the German, who has time to make a decision. Pitti is playing off the shoulder of Alexander Callens, who is too disconnected from the rest of the back line. He's out here, which I'm okay with in theory, because it allows him to cover Matarrita until Ofori gets tighter. And essentially, New York City looked to be playing a back 4. Based on how the defense is lined up, however, I think that this is a better position, as then he couldn't get beat behind and could reasonably cover the channel. He could do that, or James Sands could slide out of this central position, as New York City, as I mentioned, are lined up in a pretty solid back 4 with Matarrita sliding out on the wing. Sands can actually see Pitti this whole time, which Callens can't, but never actually reacts. And right here, before the pass is made, Callens takes a look to find Pitti and read the situation, but ends up completely misreading it. Callens steps up as Pitti goes behind, and Sands is likewise baffled and just too slow to react to the run and pass. Johnson has to come up with another top save. Initially, it's Maxi Morales who marks Gressel, which is probably what the wingback wants, as he knows that Morales won't track him into his own defensive third, while Callens and Matarrita are focused on the pass into Pitti. This is fantastic awareness from Pitti Martinez. His ability to receive the ball, face inside, then play it backdoor without even looking, behind Ronald Matarrita for Julian Gressel, is the kind of top-level play that Atlanta paid for. This is an instance where Matarrita gets close to Gressel, but he still puts in a good back post cross. I struggle to fault Matarrita on this one. Maybe he should have noticed the threat of the combination with Gressel, but the ball and run are perfect, so there isn't really that much he can do. Joseph does a great job of getting up in the air and winning this header, and he's proven this ability throughout his time in Atlanta, to be fair. Chanot doesn't give himself any room to attack this ball, and Martinez is able to run up and out-jump him. This is a great angle of the header from the target goalpost cam. But let's go back and look at the movement. Joseph is playing off of Chanot's back shoulder at the start and is expecting a cross to eventually come into the back post. He holds his run this time, knowing that he will have more time to attack it when it's played to the back post. It's floated just above Chanot's head, so he's moving backwards on it, while Joseph has time to get a clean run up and an early jump. Timing can be everything, and Chanot jumps late as well as backwards, while Martinez jumps above him, using his momentum to get on the end of the cross. De Boer's possession-first mindset often leads to lazy passing. Here, Gonzalez Pirez plays a direct pass to Remedi, who has Alexander Ring right on his back. Remedi certainly doesn't want the ball here, as all he can do is play it straight back to where it came from anyway. There's no potential for combination, there's no chance to move the ball wide, it's really just a lazy ball from Gonzalez Pirez. His reaction indicates this, as he makes no movement to come to the ball before it's played, and Ring is able to step up and win possession. Now it's a 4v2, but New York City just isn't clinical enough in this attack. Ring has 2 great options, and plays it to the right to his playmaker, Maxi Morales. On the left, Matrizo is also an option. Morales seems to want to play it there, across the field to the left, but Castellanos in the middle takes over. Had someone like Eber been in, I think we would have seen a more classic center forward run like this one to draw away a defender. The pass then would have found Matrizo, who could have crossed it for the run of the forward, or taken an open shot. As it is, Castellanos controls it well, and strikes it even better. But the shot ends up being from a more challenging position than it needed to be, and under a decent amount of pressure, as opposed to if it made it all the way across to Matrizo. This time, it's a good decision from Gonzalez Pirez. He notices the New York City line is up very high, up near the center circle, similar to the time where he gave the ball away. The New York City defense needed to realize that the defender has plenty of time to pick his head up and play a long ball. They just don't read the situation and drop off until the ball is hit. Now both Pitti and Joseph Martinez are making well-timed runs with a chance to get behind the defense. Matarrita realizes that Callens doesn't see Pitti yet again behind him and has to sprint to try to catch up as the ball goes over the back. When Joseph realizes the ball is going over him, he makes a terrific decision, puts his head down, and overlaps Pitti, who is now cutting inside on the ball. Pitti then dummies the ball, which draws the retreating Matarrita to him and away from playing the pass. Maybe Pitti could have controlled it here, but it was incredible awareness to let the ball run, and draw in the closest defender so that Joseph Martinez can get around and get an open shot on the volley. Hebert eventually comes on and makes an instant contribution. It starts off with Nagbe losing a header to Ring, but then he just gives up on the play too easily. Ring ends up making a deep run, getting in the box, and becoming an option and overloading the Atlanta defense. And from your center mid, you need more from Nagbe to be able to track these runs. And in fairness, most of Atlanta did really poor job tracking in this play. It then goes to Hebert, who is the center forward that New York City really needs, and was an instrumental part in the turnaround at the beginning of the season. By stepping up to receive this ball, he pulls Miles Robinson out of position, which then allows him to play this pass behind for Morales. He can hold it up, swivel, and slot a pass behind the defense for Morales. And again, Atlanta does a poor job of backtracking, but it's a fantastic play from Hebert. When Morales looks up the cross, he has 3 options in the box, one of which was Ring with Nagbe nowhere in sight. Overall isn't the best cross, as anything over LGP's head is a free shot for Ring or Gary McKay-Steven. Castellanos again isn't really aware of his teammates or the surrounding situation, and just sticks his leg out. I can't say for sure, but it doesn't seem like he means to knock it down for Hebert, who absolutely smashes the volley past Guzan. In the end, it is a nice touch. The volley's low and hit with speed, which makes it almost impossible for Guzan to get down and knock it out. If we go back, we'll look at how almost no Atlanta players track back. Robinson steps up and gets caught out by the initial pass, and then it's only Gonzalez Pirez who gets back into the box to defend the cross.